And it looks like we're going to see an Esper control list fighting against the Frights.
And
Frights.
Esper Control is one of the hardest matchups for Frights. Anything that can basically answer... There's a very good chance that they can just simply... The problem is with the Mythic Rares, the cards they're reanimating is that Control can, by and large, you know, okay, I say, wow, that's really fantastic that you reanimated Elish Norn. Now I'm going to Doomblade it. So we see... the tags on top are switched. The Frights deck's the one on the left, and the Esper Control is the one on the right. So we'll get to that in a second. So the Birds of Paradise is out of the Frights deck. So yeah, the names are switched. That's Vishaal is on the left, Wesley is on the right. And Wesley responds with a Ratchet Bomb. Ratchet Bomb here, for the most part, the backup plan of the Frights deck is to essentially be a ramp deck with 9 Mana Dorks and a bunch of Mythic Rares. So the Ratchet Bomb is best played as probably just ticking up and killing the Birds of Paradise will be the best use for it. A mulch really doesn't matter how many cards he gets off it in most situations, but he did put a Faithless Looting in the yard is what he wants to do. Okay, names now are correct. So Vishaal binning a Wormcoil Engine and a Faithless Looting, so he has the potential to Unburial Rites as early as next turn.
So a question I have for you is Wesley Martin's Esper control deck enough of a control deck to give his opponent a hard time?
Well, it certainly is a better matchup than Blue-Black, and he should be really happy that he's not playing against Blue-Black right now. The question is can Wesley simply sit back, let Vishaal wave his hands all he wants to, and then just kill everything he does? The best finisher is Wormcoil, because Wormcoil is the hardest to answer, but Wesley is playing some number of Oblivion. He's playing 2 Oblivion Rings, 3 Day of Judgments. These are for removal.
Wesley ups his Ratchet Bomb at end of turn and then blows it to kill the Bird of Paradise.
Which is probably correct. The Ratchet Bomb really won't get much other value in this matchup. So 2 Oblivion Ring, 3 Day of Judgment, 3 Mana Leak, 1 Tragic Slip, 1 Guess Verdict, 1 Doomblade, 1 Go for the Throat. It's borderlining on the right amount of removal. I still think Wesley has a good edge to just sit back and let Vishaal do whatever he wants. Lingering Souls is the other issue. Frights can bait out these Day of Judgments by simply saying, I'm going to attack you with 2 spirits, or maybe 4 spirits, and that, in a way, becomes a must-counter card.
We have another bird. And an elf.
Well, now that the Ratchet Bomb clear, it's time to start casting these things.
Now remember, because of the actual threats that Vishaal has, if he has a land next turn, he could just cast an Inferno Titan, theoretically. And that stops that possibility from being around.
Yeah, Mana Leak on the elves, I'm not sure I particularly like that play. Mana Leak can get so much more value.
And actually, with a land from Vishaal, he can potentially play the 6-drop again naturally. But a Tragic Slip keeps it a turn away. Well,
Wesley's aggressively attacking the mana creatures, which, depending on his hand, it may be, if Wesley can build up to, say, Consecrated Sphinx, of which he is playing just 1. But if he has, depending on what his hand, if he can just land a Consecrated Sphinx, that should get the game in check. But he needs to be careful about using his hard removal on things that aren't hard threats.
Is that a mulch? 1 land, 2 land, and then a Elish Norn to the yard with a mulch as well.
So the card that most Wesley wants to make sure has to fight against or is scared of is Unburial Rites. Because essentially, every time he draws an Unburial, he mills an Unburial Rites, it's like he drew another card or another must-counter threat.
Linger.
Now, Vishaal is going to try to have more Mythic Rares than Wesley has removal for him. And Unburial Rites counts as 2 Mythic Rares.
A pass from Wesley with no land.
No land is good for Vishaal here.
No second red for Vishaal, so there's not a threat of a Inferno Titan yet. In for 2.
Inferno Titan is probably the finisher he least wants here.
It's still a finisher.
It's still a finisher, like I said, yeah.
Still a question. I think he's going to cast a Tracker's Instincts.
Tracker's Instinct seems like an excellent play right now.
No, maybe not.
An Absence Pilgrim, probably just to, like, what Vishaal might do is simply attack for 3 every turn until Wesley proves he can do something about it.
There's a Ratchet Bomb.
That is something to do about it.
Now, Vishaal can cast a Elish Norn off of the mana he has now.
It's likely he'd want to make his opponent use the Ratchet Bomb first.
Another mana from Vishaal.
These matchups typically end when the control deck wins, is that the Frights player will actually almost mill themselves. We don't have actually any Nephalia Drown Yards out of Wesley, so he's probably... Actually, Wesley will probably have to win the game legitimately as a result.
Vishaal spending some mana here. 6 mana? Wurmcoil, that's a
gonna
great
be Snap
card.
Mana Leak.
Oh, there we go. Goodbye, Mana Leak.
Yes.
And leaves the Ratchet Bomb on 0.
Now Vishaal opting not to attack with the Avacyn's Pilgrim. Seems like he just missed the play on it. One of the things that Vishaal can try to do is when he had the Pilgrim and Wurmcoil there, he can try to build up to 9 mana, because then, once again, he's trying to get more Mythic Rares than Wesley can answer, and by negating Mana Leak as an answer, Vishaal can potentially pull himself ahead. So he probably will want to wait on his 3-drops here
Flashback?
until he has enough. Flashing Back Tracker.
There we go. Let's see what we can find.
And Unburial Rites are
times
excellent
2.
to find.
It's a whiff, but that's 2 cards to the yard that he can
Not
cast.
actually a whiff. So
That's
rather
a whiff
than
on the
going,
Tracker's Instinct.
Right, yeah. Well,
2 cards to the yard, though. That's 2 more cards
It's-
he can cast.
it's only a whiff in the technical sense
Yes,
of the term.
yes,
It's
yes.
a hit.
Yeah, hence
Sorry,
hence,
yeah.
hence the verbatim of my statements.
Yeah. He probably will wait. I would wait at least.
Wait to double threat.
Yeah.
Goes for it right now.
He only needs 4 mana,
yeah,
so he's
that's,
overtapping here.
1, 2. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Okay, now we figured it out.
Unburial my
I think an
Elishnorn.
Elishnorn.
This guy right here.
And Wesley starting hope he has to keep basically you just have to keep smashing into the counter spells until you hope that they run out of them.
And it works.
It works.
That's
And now
9.
here they come.
My prediction: Wesley is going to end of the turn Forbidden Alchemy, and then try to
For a
day.
Well, the Ratchet Bomb. So let's see. In fact, he may not want
no
to.
alchemy.
He
Even.
may not want to end of turn alchemy. He'd probably alchemy if he didn't have the day already. He'd probably alchemy first to see if he should crack Ratchet
day.
Bomb.
No Ratchet Bomb. Yeah. Good point. There's the day.
So there is some risk in playing all those threats out on the board at one time. I guess now that he's tapped out, it's almost certainly best. Well, normally you'd reanimate a Wurmcoil here. Wurmcoil is your best weapon against control. The Ratchet Bomb on the table makes it a little bit of a push because the Ratchet Bomb deals with the tokens.
Now, I'm not sure if Elishnorn is, a guy or a girl, but it's one heck of a pretty person to put out and play. Oh, Wurmcoil. That's
Wurmcoil.
pretty Bella there for us. Look at that.
Fortunately,
Boom.
yeah. Fortunately, the Ratchet Bomb takes care of it if he has a kill spell.
Knocking away 2 for 1 after 2 for 1 is basically Vishaal's plan here.
Right.
The silent stage. Again, players, Commander Pod number 2.
Wesley Martin is sitting on a Batter Skull. Unfortunately,
Not
Darkslick
so
Shores
exciting.
comes into play tapped. But he actually has 1 life to spare, which is very
1 life
relevant.
is very, very relevant.
Yeah. Batter Skull can buy him another turn just on a chump block, gaining 4.
I can't, with the flipping of cards that Wesley's doing, I can't quite make out what he's got going on.
I know he has a Batter Skull. I was not able to make out anything else.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Matthias Hunt. We're at round 5, the Star City Games Open Series here in Sacramento. Faithless looting. Looking for the knockout punch.
If he can get another Unburial Rites, he can try to just kill him with an Elishnorn, I suppose.
Land and something. I couldn't make out the other card.
Probably. There's enough blanks that will... Maybe it's just probably another blank.
Cast
Casting
Elishnorn.
Going
Does
for
that
the kill?
work?
If he has nothing, that should be game.
Please find your seat.
I feel like that's I've got nothing.
That is the read. I would agree that the read is I also... Boy, this Day of Judgment doesn't answer it. Or whatever he has.
Verdict.
And we have Snapcaster
Oh.
Now, why do you suppose the Snapcaster did not mana leak? Oh, very, very clever. So, giving himself that opportunity, and then
he can day the whole table away.
Well, yeah, the option was that a much stronger play than just Snapcaster mana leak there, actually.
Day, I betcha.
And it's another day.
Foil day. Que bella.
Maybe a little aggressive on Vishaal's part to try to win on that turn. It depends if he has no other plays, it's still probably correct. But this kind of exemplifies one of the difficulties that Frights have with control decks. They actually can just answer everything you do.
There is a Faithless Looting ×2, I believe, in the yard for Vishaal.
Yeah, what Vishaal needs to hope is that Wesley doesn't get a Consecrated Sphinx. Vishaal, no matter how much card advantage you have, you still essentially can only play one Mythic threat a turn in this deck. So if Wesley has the ability to draw extra cards or to basically get extra answers per turn, it's very hard for Vishaal to come back from it.
Attention players in Commander Pod number 2, never mind.
Faithless Looting is, looks like it's discarded. Leaves an Unburial Rites open for Vishaal. He's going here for Inferno Titan, it looks like.
But not having any of it.
Negate,
and Llanowar Elves.
Yep, our Mana Leak, and then Llanowar Elf is the last card.
And Wesley does have a Batter Skull, which will probably get run out at this point.
Now look at this situation here, right? Like, I believe that Vishaal's graveyard has one Faithless Looting and no other flashback cards. I could be wrong about that, but I think that that's the case. And he's facing down now a Batter Skull with an empty hand and just that Faithless Looting to help make him have something happen. I think he just drew an Elishnorn, though. I might have seen it wrong, but I think that might have been an Elishnorn.
That would be very strong. Hopefully, this is what the board state starts to look like. Usually, when Control's winning, once Vishaal runs out of cards, Elishnorn obviously would be a great way to try to steal this game back. Let's see what he drew.
Attention Magic players, those of you who may have not heard the first time,
4,
the pairing is for the second round of the Modern Challenge.
Making sure he's getting the double white, it does look like an Elishnorn.
Players, these pairings for round 2
6,
of the
7.
Modern Challenge have been posted. Please find your seats.
So now the Llanowar Elves is a 3/3.
Elishnorn 3/3 versus 2/2.
What's likely is that if Wesley gets an 8th land, he can Ratchet Bomb to kill the Llanowar Elves, and then use 8 mana to essentially Maze of Ith with his Batter Skull every turn, until he draws some way to deal with the Elishnorn.
And there are turns that he won't have to do that either, because...
he might draw something...
Well, I'm just going to think, like, if he draws nothing, but he has, like, that... only the 7 mana, he'll go up to 11 with the first block. Or not 11, 9. I rescind
9.
my... Well, it's still actually going to be a fair. 9 with the first one.
He can afford to take some...
Oh, Lingering Souls.
Okay, so he did have the Souls there. Now that I didn't notice that certainly...
the Ratchet Bomb...
Well, it forces the Ratchet Bomb.
Forces the Ratchet Bomb. But, I mean, the bomb will also kill his Germ.
So, what's likely is that Wesley probably should have blocked the Llanowar Elves there in anticipation of Lingering Souls being cast.
Absolutely.
Now he could be he should be at 9, but now so it cost him 5 life points there, which we'll see. Which unfortunately makes an Elishnorn swing lethal now.
Yeah, he can block the Elishnorn and then blow the Ratchet Bomb, but in order to stay alive, but it still knocks him to 1.
Right. Because he won't get the life gain then.
You notice he uses a Ghost Quarter on his own land there in the desperate attempt to thin out the library. O-Ring.
On the Elishnorn.
That is a good card to have drawn.
Very much. That should...
Boom, in for 4. Returning this to his side of the game.
Definitely.
Wow.
It's a very hard matchup for Frights because so many of the cards in Esper actually can... The monsters aren't big enough, for example. Sometimes after post-board, if the Frights player will try to... Well, he actually does not have he's playing a transformational sideboard with Strangleroot Geist and Thrun the last troll. Typically, people will try to side in things like Jin-Gitaxias or other fatties, but he has no different finishers in his board. He will, so he needs about. There's a lot of things that Vishaal needs to pull back into this.
Now remember, there still is a Faithless Looting in Vishaal's yard, I believe, so he can dig a little bit further if he needs to.
With the
Let's do a
Ratchet
quick
Bomb
check
in
and see if
play.
we see it there. There it is, I believe. That might be an Inferno Titan, but I think it's a looting. Looks like looting mana.
Yeah. Despite being a great deck at the Pro Tour, Frights really took a hit when blue-black and blue Esper control really surged back up into popularity. These are the matchups you're trying to avoid.
And let's see what we get out of this. He's got... He's playing 5-card Monty with his lands. Okay.
I think what would be great is if he could draw into a Worm Coil Engine here. Would probably be pretty good. He's got to find a way to deal with this recurring life gain that's going on. So I think Worm Coil would be really great.
Here we go. Loot, loot, loot. 2 cards of some kind. Can't see what they are. Discarding a land in something, I think. Off camera, I can't see what was discarded.
Yeah, probably more lands or maybe more mana dorks. Not much more action to Vishaal this turn. He's content to swing 2. He's gonna mulch.
Mulch. That's actually potentially really good. What do we get? In this case, is that a Tracker's Instinct?
It's
It got him?
so it's something he can do something
It
with.
got him one useful thing and then 2 lands, it looked like.
Yep. And Think Twice on Step by Wesley Martin, trying to really close it out with, if you can get just a couple more generic answers, he'd probably be able to close this out.
It looked like Vishaal was thinking about blocking for a second, but it's way before that stage is necessary.
Yeah.
Come on up to the stage.
There was an attack in there, I assume. I didn't see it.
He did. He pushed forward an attack.
Okay. So he's at 10 then?
And we have a small earthquake here in California. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's done. Okay, good. They happen a lot out here.
That's true.
Our current life total is 12 for Vishaal, 10 for Wesley. Tracker's Instinct, flashback from the yard.
Doing some more.
Oh, right.
Another right.
Another looting, and another Instincts. That was not terrible.
Not terrible. There's no... Sometimes Tracker's Instinct plays a lot like Dream Twist in this deck.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of that as a semi-ancestral recall. More of a concentrate or a harmonize, I suppose.
Yeah. And he goes for... This is rights number 3. Debating...
Targeting Elishnorn.
Yep.
I think we're going to see a response of some kind.
We don't have a response yet.
Think for 1 from the flashback. Says it's okay.
And it works. What we didn't see is that he drew another Day of Judgment off it. Yeah, Wesley does have another day.
So I think we're going to see a chump block from the token, and then after the chump block, at the end of the turn, we're going to see a return of the Battle Skull, be my guess.
That sounds correct.
+2 life brings him to 12, -6 life brings him to 6.
The return of the Batter Skull and a Day of Judgment.
Back comes the batter skull. God, I'm still so shocked that card was ever printed.
No, if you see a lot of play without Stoneforge Mystic, it really does make you wonder with Stoneforge Mystic. Oh man.
And Day of Judgment to wipe clean the board. The Ratchet Bomb hanging back as a
insurance
policy, yeah.
Against any souls that may want to linger.
Unburial Rites?
If that is, Inferno Titan would be very strong to get here, as it would deal 3 on the next attack, and Wesley would die before his Batter Skull token got to block.
Oh, no, but it is not.
It's just the Inferno Titan. So Wesley, suddenly the lifelink off the Batter Skull. Wesley's actually in a very rough position here. Vishaal may do what I would say would be, it looks like he's in position to possibly steal what I would say is a game that was pretty solidly in Wesley's camp here. And Wesley knows it. He's going to flash back a Think Twice, it looks like. He doesn't have one.
He doesn't have any more. That's it. He was looking, he was hoping.
He's hoping, yeah. Well, what a turn of events here. Does he get something? He has a Phantasmal Image, a Dissipate, and the Batter Skull. I don't think he has any way to stop from dying next turn.
Did he just draw that Dissipate?
He just drew the Dissipate.
Right after. Oh, how painful.
And yes, Vishaal takes the first game. Takes what was all but a locked up board for the control player. Vishaal sneaks through exactly the 20th point of damage.
Look at that look from Vishaal too. He looks confident. He looks like
he doesn't realize it. Hopefully he realizes just how close that was.
Now, important to note, more than half of the clock has been eaten away by that first game.
Yeah, and that will really favor the Frights player. Esper doesn't have too many ways to win quickly. So Vishaal, in this matchup, typically Elish Norn is not a very strong card, but Vishaal, rather than having a different sideboard of, most times some boards provide an extra Worm Curls, he does not have that. He has 4 Strangleroot Geist, 3 Thrun the last troll, 2 Metamorph, 2 Sever the Bloodline, 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Ray of Revelation. Now the Ray of Revelations almost certainly come in against a deck with so many O-Rings. The question is whether or not he's trying to transform into an aggro deck in this matchup.
You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with becoming a Strangleroot Geist deck against a deck like this.
I think it seems to me pretty likely that he will choose that plan.
How do you find the room for it, though?
Well, this is different than most of the sideboard strategies I've seen. What I've usually seen is Geists and then Sword of Warren pieces, because you already are playing 9
the birds and elves.
Birds and elves, so Sword is a fairly defensible play. So I'm not sure. I'm kind of hoping he chooses to transform here because I'm very curious to see how it plays out.
What do we see from Martin? Grafdigger's Cage?
Grafdigger's Cage, he has one?
Yeah.
Almost certainly a Grafdigger's Cage. It turns off the entirety of his deck. Martin actually has 14 cards in his sideboard. 14 different cards.
Yeah, they
are 2 Purges and 13 one-offs.
Yep. I believe Brian Kibler recently said sideboards like this either indicate genius or lack of focus.
So probably there's a Trinket Mage for the Grafdigger's Cage.
1 Trinket Mage for Grafdigger's Cage.
He almost certainly boards in the extra Negate and Dissipate.
Both of which are analogs to his Dissipate and Mana Leaks that he already has.
Yes, and I don't see, perhaps he boards in the other O-Ring as well. Things in the main deck that are not as strong would be Geth's Verdict, because it'll end up eating a mana creature most of the time. And they're between Lingering Souls and mana creatures, Geth's Verdict's a little bit of a liability. Most of his other cards are pretty good. There's not too many things that he needs to change in the matchup. He might upgrade Tragic Slip just into an O-Ring, because then he doesn't have to worry about it missing. But Ray of Revelation will be a very good card for Vishaal.
Is Batterskull a card that, I know you're looking for cards that can recover a game, But I almost feel like if I were Wesley, I would think about siding it out, and then if a Strangleroot Geist thing happened, because I don't know that that's going to be a plan, then bringing it back in, yeah.
Right, I wouldn't expect a transform sideboard. Batter Skull, I think, is probably not the finisher you'd want. Sun Titan seems much better. Most of the Vishaal's creatures are legends, so Sun Titan getting Phantasmal Image is probably going to be your endgame, in addition to the one of Consecrated Sphinx. Batter Skull, while neat, doesn't win the game easily enough on its own. As we saw there, if his Batter Skull in that situation had been, say, a Consecrated Sphinx, I think we would have seen Wesley easily run away with the game.
So, the judge at the table, he wants to let us know that Vishaal, he knows he's under the camera. Vishaal wants everyone out there to know he's only been playing Magic for 2 weeks. He's an old Yu-Gi-Oh player, but he hasn't been happy with Yu-Gi-Oh, so he's been trying to find a new game. He came over here to Magic. He's only been at this for 2 weeks, and right now I believe he's 4 up.
Which really makes you interested with the deck he's chosen to get into the game with. It's almost like if I told you that my first deck I ever learned how to play was, say, Dredge. You'd be like, you'd wonder, do I really understand what is actually going on in the game? because Fright operates on such a different tempo and style.
Turn 1 birds from Vishaal. On the other side of the table, we've got a pair of lands and a Nihil Spellbomb.
Nihil Spellbomb should be excellent in the matchup. So now we get to see if Vishaal does something like come swinging with a Strangleroot Geist. And does not look like he does, has no turn 2 play. Probably a hand full of threats and lands. So third land, all different colors, and no land from Wesley. So
huge moment for the game.
Well, Vishaal now can choose to try to start running things in. Wesley probably has a hand of many answers. You know, so out-manaing Wesley is sometimes a good option. He's casting Thrun. So it looks like he has at least done part of his sideboard plan. He has 3 Thruns in his sideboard, which is really the maximum you'd run in any deck sporting Thrun. He's hoping just to deal the full 20 with Thrun with the last troll.
Wesley really needs to start dropping some land. This is not a way for a control deck to win.
It's very likely that Wesley has a hand of lots of counter spells and kill spells. But unfortunately, the troll is very good against all of the above.
Looting from Vishaal. Sever the bloodline.
Now that surprises me that he boarded the Severs in. I don't see what is. It's possible he's hoping to get all the possible win cons out of Wesley's deck, but I don't really understand that sideboarding choice.
Yeah, I can't see what else was discarded, but
Wesley doomblading the Birds of Paradise. And he's back on track with lands.
There we go.
But he still needs to deal... Wesley's at 16, soon to go to 12, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Nihil Spellbomb, is he looking for a verdict here?
I don't believe he has his 1 Geth's Verdict in the deck. His answer is Phantasmal Image that he's drawing toward.
That's fair. Because he does have 2 of those in the main deck. None in the sideboard to up that.
No, but he almost certainly has kept them in, as most of the best ramp targets are legends. But if he does not find one, we could see a fairly quick game. Wesley about to be attacked. He's not 20. Wesley's currently at 12. And that knock hits him down to 8. Or maybe it doesn't.
Snapcaster.
Maybe it doesn't. He's choosing to block, so he stays at 12. Interesting. So using a Snapcaster basically as a nourish there.
Little fog.
You have to with nourish. It gains exactly 4 life.
In for 4.
Wesley could also just draw something like Consecrated Sphinx. Though he does risk, by dropping Consecrated Sphinx, if Vishaal has kept in the Elesh Norns, he does risk Elesh Norn.
There's a Bird of Paradise. Nothing at the end of the turn for Wesley. Just untap. Looks like a Seachrome Coast. Oh, Glacial Fortress. And no
And
islands?
still no islands.
I see, was it a swamp?
Yes, it's quite the mana base.
Only
It's
basic
swamp
land is a swamp in play.
with so many good duels to use. They just all come into play tapped, that's all. He has Day of Judgment, Swamp.
No,
I'm not able to see the other cards. Looks like another Snapcaster
Snapcaster.
coming into block.
Get a Doomblade again. This time use it.
This time he can kill
At some
the-
point, he doesn't have to use it right away.
It still has flashback until the end of the turn. So essentially, he stopped Vishaal from playing a post-combat threat.
I was trying to come up with a fog that did that before, but I couldn't come up with one.
That does.
That stops your opponent from casting a good spell.
That one's harder.
Doomblade on the Avacyn's Pilgrim.
Wesley also has to watch out for Wormcoil Engine. That card is still very problematic for control decks.
7 mana for Wesley Martin. 8 mana.
So after being stuck on 3 for a couple of turns, Wesley is making up for lost time in drawing more lands.
And says go. What's he got?
My guess is a lot of nothing.
Snapcaster?
He has Day. My guess would be something like Day, O-Ring, Counterspell, or something which is simply none of them are answers to Thrun.
Tracker's
he has-
Instincts.
It's Day, Dissipate in his hand.
Looks like... Is that a...
If Vishaal taps down to 3 mana, Wesley can go Day of Judgment, Day of Judgment.
Go to 4.
And he can even stop the bird mana by going Day of Judgment, go to combat, empty mana pools, Day of Judgment. Not exactly your preferred method of dealing with Thrun, but possible.
That's it,
and
though.
Nothing. So Thrun swings for 20.
4 times 5 equals 20.
Yeah. quick lesson in math there.
Yeah.